You're listening to the Chopped Podcast, episode number 106. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Chopped Podcast. I'm your host Marley with the site Namely Marley, and you are in for an extra special treat today because my friend Trevor is here. We're here for episode number 2 of Blog Talk, and Trevor Depth, he and his wife Jennifer are with the sites Show Me the Yummy and the Blog Village. Hey Trevor.
Marley.
How you doing?
Blog Talk number 2.
I know. It's like routine now.
I know. It's great. It's exciting. I love it.
Me too. We had such a great response from the first one, so I think it was time to come back and do another one. What do you think?
I think it's about that time. I felt it in my bones.
Well, you know what? Maybe it might be good for everybody to actually know what we're doing here. Do you want to tell everybody what Blog Talks is?
Yeah, so Blog Talk is just our chance to answer some of the questions that we know that food bloggers have about. It can be a few things. It could be the behind the scenes of blogging, the processes, behind the scenes of how you do things, business skills, even some of the technology that you need to know to be good at blogging, fundamentals, anything that's currently happening that people might have questions about, because there are so many moving parts. It's sometimes difficult to keep a grasp on everything you need to be knowing, and that's what we're here to help you do.
I love it. And you know, the thing is, I can't tell you how many times I've told somebody, oh, you should start a food blog. You're just going to love it. And then, you know, once you do it yourself and get into it, it's like, wow, there are a lot of moving parts. What have I done? Yes. Yeah. I've created a monster.
Exactly.
Yes. It is kind of like a monster sometimes. But the thing is, when you work at a company, you sit over the coffee table or whatever. They don't have coffee tables, but coffee room, and you talk about things and figure things out. Or maybe you're in meetings and there's other people that you work with, colleagues that kind of help you figure things out. And you don't always have that in food blogging. So I feel like that's kind of what we're doing here.
We're like the water cooler of the food blogging world. Come on, hang around. We'll talk about blogging, what's happening. I love it. I love that.
I love it too. It's perfect. Okay, so I was thinking, it might be helpful for people to really understand, that your great perspective related to food blogging is because, you've got this wonderful Blog Village. So can you tell everybody a little bit about Blog Village?
Yeah, so the Blog Village is a membership site where Jennifer and I both help people learn anything you really need to know about blogging, from starting it all the way to how to create videos and edit and everything there in between. Google Analytics, there's so many things, as a lot of people know. And so we get to help people learn that stuff, but then we also see all those questions that are coming from people and what people are struggling with and what they might want to know a little bit more about how something works. And so that kind of gives us and me a unique perspective on what's happening out there.
You want to know what I love about Blog Village, Trevor?
What is it?
Is that
everything?
Okay? Oh yeah, everything. That's what you want to hear, right? No, what I love is the fact that, okay, I can Google anything, right? Like I can Google how to use Google Analytics, but the answers I'm going to get are from so many voices. Yeah. But when I look at that in Blog Village, it's very tailored to food blogging. And I know it's from you and Jennifer, and you have this great experience. So I just feel like it's the answer I want, not like I have to sort through a million different people talking about it.
Well, you're totally right, because it has the benefit of being able to be specific with the answers as it pertains to the specific context of blogging, not necessarily just what anyone's doing. So that's a big part of it. And then we also try and make things easier for people with tools like our social analytics. We've got auto image that helps you make images. So it's about making your whole life a little easier, because I'm a big fan of that. And that's what we do.
I love it. And the thing is, whether it's the Blog Village or whether it's the Chopped Podcast or whether it's Blog Talk, whatever it is, we're really just about trying to help you be your best. And there's, like we said, there's a lot of moving parts to blogging. And I think investing time in training and figuring these things out will just make you happier in the end. So let's do it.
So important. And I love what you said, because it reminds me of what I always say is, we're successful if you're successful. And so if you're coming back to listening to things like the Blog Talk, going to the Blog Village, whatever you're doing, that means that we're doing what we're trying to do, which is help people. So I love that.
Yeah, good. And our goal is to provide Blog Talk to you on a regular basis, as long as it's connecting with people and providing value. That's our main goal. So we've got a few questions that we're going to get into today. So shall we get started, Trevor?
We should. I was going to run this by you. I've been
Okay.
thinking about it. I think Blog Talk should have a jingle.
Okay.
So
You ready?
this is what I came up with, and
Okay.
let's see what you think. All right, ready?
Okay.
Blog Talk. We're gonna talk about blogs today with Marley and Trevor. All right, so that's
I love it.
that's rough. So I'm gonna work on
No.
that.
Let's work on it. And next time I'll add the harmonies. How's that?
I was gonna say, maybe if you could go up a third, we'll write that down. But yes,
I had a
let's-
vocal scholarship in college. Did you know that?
Oh well, now we're getting serious.
I will get you some
I'm gonna
harmonies
throw
next
some
time.
reverb on this thing. This is gonna be
Awesome.
this is gonna be good.
I love it.
We'll do that offline.
The other thing that's really great here is that in addition to the technology and the very specific nitty gritties, it's fun to be creative, right?
Oh yeah, and there's song. I mean, come on, we got a little bit of everything.
I love it. Okay. The first question that we're going to talk about today is something I know is on everybody's mind, and that is Facebook Live. So here's the question. What's up with the changes to Facebook Live? And so I love that question, but the thing I want to tell you, Trevor, is I'm not even on Facebook Live yet.
What?
I know, it's crazy. I have been one of those, what is it, the person, I've been a voyeur.
Okay, sure. Well, that's the
Yes.
whole idea, right?
But you and Jennifer, you've been pretty active on Facebook Live. Oh yeah, that is the idea. You're right.
Yeah, we have been doing it, and the crazy thing is how much Facebook is pushing. I was actually watching a show on Hulu or something the other day, and a Facebook Live an ad for Facebook Live came on, which just kind
Wow.
of tells you how much they are putting a focus on that. And also, if you haven't updated Facebook recently, I just did a couple days ago, as of I think November 19th. They just updated the Facebook app to now one of the main areas on the bottom, one of those main shortcuts. You got news feed, notifications, and video. And now it's a
Wow.
new solely dedicated video area where you can see people's live feeds, people's videos that they're creating. So, they are really going to town on putting a focus on video. And you just told me right before we started, what else did you just hear?
Oh, that Instagram has started their own version, which is Instagram Live.
Instagram too. Well, so yeah, Facebook owns Instagram, so that makes
Of
you
course.
can see that coming. But my gosh, every place is doing this, and so it's kind
Live
of
is where it's at.
well, live is where it's at. And I guess so. Back to kind of the question. I think there are people who are either like, "Ooh, cool," or "Oh my God, are you kidding me? Now I have to get in front of the camera. How the heck do I do that?"
Yes. Well, let me ask you a question before we get into that one,
Mhm.
which is, have you seen some benefits from using Facebook Live?
So, that's difficult to measure. So here's the thing with Facebook Live, because Facebook is obviously, and I'm guessing this is also going to pertain to Instagram, depending on when you're listening to this. But they put such a emphasis on it that the moment that we start live streaming, and you've probably, if you're on Facebook, have probably seen this, they start pushing that notification out
Wow.
to all of your followers. And I think they even start pushing it out to people that as a suggested, I don't exactly, they're changing this stuff all the time, but it gets pushed out ahead of everything else. So you've probably seen, have you gotten those notifications? You'd be like, show me the Yummy was live.
Oh, absolutely.
Or show me the Yummy is live right now.
Mhm.
And so that is really nice because it has a really great reach versus maybe just posting a photo. We're not going to get the kind of reach that we get when we go live. And so that does translate into engagement. And obviously it's another opportunity for people to get to know us a little better, and just to feel more connected, which I think is important because it can help you to retain your audience, which is huge. But if you're talking about concrete, when you do a Facebook Live video, do you see X number of additional likes? That's a little more difficult to say, but I think that if you can do it and if you're willing to try it, I definitely think it's worth experimenting with.
I love it. Okay, so it's worth just giving it a try. And what's the worst that happens? I mean, is it one of those things that goes away after 24 hours, or does it stay on your page once you're done with it?
You can choose. So you
Okay.
can just go live and then you don't have to post to your page after. So if somebody missed it, they missed it.
Uh-huh.
The app, right? So if you're doing it on your phone, which is the easiest way to do it, when it finishes, it'll ask you if you want to post it. And so if you
Okay.
post it, then it'll go to your page, or it could be just your profile also. And then you can also though delete it anytime you want. So it's just like any other video. It's treated like just any other video on your
Okay.
page that you can go back, and if you hate the first one in 2 months, you want to delete it, you can delete it.
Ah, nice. So you do have a little bit of control. If you absolutely hated it, you can delete it. And if
Well,
it's,
and- exactly. And it's one of those things where there isn't a negative. You know what I mean?
right.
There's nothing negative that's going to happen because you did it.
Now, let's say you were making a chocolate peanut butter pie and you did that on Facebook Live, and you also have a post on chocolate peanut butter pie. Would you then, and you're really happy with the Facebook Live, would you then link to it from your peanut butter pie post on your site?
I think you absolutely can. I think we
Okay.
have done that before. We don't do that so often because we sort of have moved to trying to tailor the Facebook Lives to work for two of us being on there, but we have done it in the past, and you definitely could.
Okay.
If we're talking about time on page and maybe how
Yes.
Google's going to look at that and ranking your page,
Yeah.
yeah, if you do a Facebook Live video and it's really engaging and people go to your page and they watch that for 3 minutes and Google's like, wow, people are staying on this page quite a while, I think it could be valuable. I think a lot of that's going to depend on how you produce it,
Yes.
how much you're investing in making sure it looks really nice
Yeah.
versus, it does have that ability to kind of have that just sort of, hey, we just threw this together
Yeah.
quality, which then there's less expectations on it. So I think it totally is going to
It
depend
just
from
depends.
blogger to
Okay.
blogger. Yeah.
Okay, so I thank you for all those kind of, background questions on
Yeah.
it. Now, you now to the real part of the question. What are the changes that people are talking about with Facebook Live?
Well, so Facebook Live used to, in its initial iteration, was just square, which
Okay.
I loved. And I think a lot of people liked because it looked the same on mobile that it did on desktop. And
That's
it didn't
nice.
matter whether it was, horizontal or vertical. It was just it was there. And so with this new update, and you never know if they're going to change it again, but
Yeah.
with the new update, it's now 16 by 9. So it's, the entire screen of your phone like you'd film any other video. But then that brings up the big question that people are going to have to answer, and they're going to kind of have to answer based on their audience is, do I shoot horizontal and expect people to rotate their phones? And the other thing is, if you shoot horizontal and someone's holding their phone vertically, the video is much smaller. Or
wow.
do you shoot vertically, which is sort of backwards from what people are always kind of told to do with
Yes.
video, which is shoot horizontally, but do you
Yeah.
shoot vertically because on the phone, when people are holding it as they scroll by, you fill the whole phone then.
But if they're
So,
looking at it on desktop, what happens?
so if you're looking at it on desktop, it doesn't look fantastic. And I don't know if they're going to change that. I mean, I should actually pull it up now because they might have just changed things in the last few days, but
The next question is, does anybody look at it on desktop?
well, you know what? It's funny that you say that. And the reason I was talking to Jennifer about this, and I said, why they're doing this is because if their traffic is like ours, and probably yours, 85 to 90% of our blog traffic is mobile
Did you say
devices.
85 to 90?
Yeah. Oh, it's hugely on the side of mobile for us. I think it's 85%. I can pull it up while we kind of keep talking, but
That is huge. I mean, that is really like, it changes the way you look at the content on your site, don't
oh
you
yeah.
think?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Who cares about the sidebar? Barely anybody's seeing it. I mean,
Nobody's seeing the
yeah.
sidebar.
It definitely makes you think about what you're focusing on and making. Oh,
What?
just got a blast in my headphones from a video there. I don't know if you heard that.
No, I didn't.
But yeah, it definitely changes the way that we think about things. So it's going to be interesting to see what people decide to go with and whether people start just doing vertical or people start doing horizontal. I don't know. What do you think? Do you like horizontal holding it, or do you like it vertical because that's just how you hold your phone, or do you want to rotate it?
I prefer vertical just because that's the way I hold my phone. Now that said, if I was watching your page and there was a video that was horizontal, I don't mind turning my phone, but I know it's like everywhere you go, people are like totally criticizing people who do the vertical shoot. So
Well, I know, but it's tough when they make it so.
Yes.
I think you're right. I guess the question is, because you're right. If we're doing a 15-minute live video, it's probably not going to kill you to rotate your phone.
Yeah.
I guess it's the acquisition question. Is it easier to get somebody to watch if it's vertical
Yes.
because it fills more of the screen?
I also wonder if Snapchat hasn't kind of changed our behavior in some ways because like all of Snapchat feels to me like it's vertical. So I think it's helped change our behavior. I
Well,
don't
right.
know.
Yeah, I think you're totally right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like the expectation right now is vertical. And, really, I don't think it should be about us pushing onto the audience what we think is best. If that's how they're using it, I think it's probably best to produce content that is best used by our audience.
Well, that's brilliant that you said that because I entirely agree. We need to come up with more disagreements so we can fight on here. I think that would be make for good. But no,
we got
I
a
totally.
topic will coming up.
Oh
Here.
yeah, we do. No, you're totally right. And I talk about it with Jennifer all the time that if we say, "Oh, but we like it this way," it's not necessarily about what you like. Obviously, people are coming to you for your tastes.
Yeah.
But if you can serve your reader or your user better and they'll enjoy it better, you kind of got to keep that in mind as a pretty big.
Yes, if you
big
can
part of the
marry the
decision process.
two, your artistic, design preferences with the preferences of your audience, man, you're going to just hit that sweet spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're 80%, by the way. Sorry, 80%.
80%. Okay.
I just looked it up.
That's way better. 80%, than 85.
That's close.
Okay, so what about Instagram Live? Will you be using that then, you think?
I just found out about it.
I know.
But I guess we will. Facebook owns Instagram, right? So
Yeah.
what I'm assuming is going to happen is very similar to what Facebook has done with their ads, which is
Yes,
if you
it's
want to create an
one
ad and
interface.
boost it, you can say, oh, I want to boost it on Facebook and Instagram and here and here and here. And so I'm guessing that if you go live on Facebook and you have your Instagram account linked, you'll go live in both places because why wouldn't Facebook want that to happen? Because now, no matter if you just use Instagram or you just use Facebook, you're going to see it either way. If an Instagram user goes live or if a Facebook user goes live, I think that's where it's going to go.
I would love that if that would be the option. That would be perfect.
I would think. Why wouldn't you do that? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like you say, since they've interfaced the ads like that, it makes sense that they're going to do it with live as well.
And I think what we're going to start to see happening in the next, I don't know. They're trying to cannibalize YouTube, right? They're really trying to get people off of YouTube. And I think that the one thing that's left to happen, and they've talked about doing this, is allowing content creators to monetize their content. And so I think that's going to be the next thing is if Facebook can get all these people starting to do live, think of them as live vlogs and their videos. If they start to offer the ability for people to monetize that content, then I think that's going to be disruptive.
I like that, but there's also one more thing. I agree, monetizing is one thing that's left out right now on Facebook Live. But the other thing that I would think of that they still haven't touched with YouTube, and I could be wrong, so correct me. And that is let's say I do a video that corresponds with my recipe. That recipe is like guaranteed to get on the first page of search engine results. Pretty much. I mean, if it's a decent video.
Yeah, I mean. So, yeah, I mean, I guess
YouTube's owned by Google, right?
Well, right. Yeah. I mean, so they're kind of doing this battle. I like to think that I think that can help index really quickly. And then, Google's aware of that video faster than maybe they would be normally just waiting to crawl your site again. I personally like to think that Google's a little more agnostic and their goal, the more value they can bring to someone searching for something and give them the best results, the more people keep coming back and using Google and the more they generate their ad revenue. So I'd like to think that all they care about is, hey, there's a video and hey, people are on that page longer. That's just me personally, but I don't know how that's going to play out. Like if Facebook starts and people start saying, oh, well, now I'm just going to host my video on Facebook and embedded the Facebook video on my post, I don't know what that'll do. That's a great question.
Yeah. It's like one of those things, kind of stay tuned to the same channel and see what happens down the road. But
if you don't come to Blog Talk episode number 3, you're probably your blog is just going to go downhill. It's just, you need to, you better stay with us here because it's touch and go. It's touch and go.
That's right. The respirator is on. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Time for question 2. So, we're talking about Google anyway, so this is a perfect segue.
Mhm.
So I keep hearing that Google is going to penalize sites that have pop-ups, and that's going to happen in January. So is this true? This is the question. What are you hearing, Trevor?
Yes. So after January 10th,
Yep.
they are going to start looking at those interstitial pop-ups. So
I love that word.
isn't that nice?
Yes, it sounds so smart when I say that.
And this is just mobile. But mobile is obviously, like we've been talking about, huge percentage of people's traffic, and it's a huge focus for Google with Google AMP, which we won't talk about right now. But and so it's just one of those things that they're trying to make that mobile experience better for people. And so if you have one of those, a lot of people have it for subscriptions, that pops up right when you go to the site or after 5 seconds. They're going to look at that, and what they've said is it's just one ranking signal, right? And so that's pretty important. It's not like if you have that, they're gonna say we're not showing your site in search results. Their primary directive is if you're searching for something very specific and your content matches, whether or not you have that, they'll still display it. But if it's between you and 9 other people who don't have those ads, and let's say everything else was equal, you'd be at the bottom of that list.
Oh, that's kind of important.
Anytime Google makes public, hey, this is a ranking signal, you should pay attention and try to abide by it. So that means getting rid of those if you have it, and finding some replacement or talking to whoever your provider for those pop-ups are, and make sure now that they have, and they may have emailed you about it, but just make sure they're doing something to give a Google approved pop-up.
And let's talk about those Google approved pop-ups, because
Sure.
this doesn't apply to everybody. It doesn't apply to every pop-up. So there are some that might seem like they're going to go through. Like, let's talk of an example of one that's clearly not going to work. And that is the sites that you go to where you can't even read the content, and a pop-up comes up immediately.
Yeah. That's not going to be okay.
I hate those anyway.
Yeah, I know.
And everybody hates them. That's probably why they're going away.
And the problem with why they exist is because they work. Unfortunately,
they're so effective. Yes.
They are, unfortunately. I mean, the problem is, it's, and this goes to kind of what you were saying. It's sort of the antithesis of what you were saying, which is, if something's good for your audience, then you should try and do it. Yeah. It's also, if something works to generate email subscribers, it's kind of like, well, if that works 10 times better than anything else, it's difficult to not jump on board with it, which is why everybody jumped on board with it. But now they'll hopefully get a little less obnoxious because Google's going to put their foot down.
And actually, I think that's what we're kind of talking about here, Trevor, is that, we're looking for ways to have the pop-up to grow our email list, but at the same time, not be extremely annoying to our users.
Yep. Yeah. And so what those are going to look like is, if you've been to a website before that has an app associated with it, where it's just this small, let's say it maybe takes up 25% of the top of the screen, or maybe 25% of the bottom of the screen, that's what Google's looking for to be a little more okay if you do have anything pop up. And I think that's what a lot of these services that provide those, all the email providers like MailChimp and ActiveCampaign and the ones that you can pay for pop-ups like Opt-in Monster, all of these different things. I think they're looking at how they can be valid in Google's eyes and give people a way to get people to sign up, but not be quite as disruptive. Obtrusive. Yeah, perfect word. Yeah, not be quite as obtrusive to the user.
And so one of the things they're looking at is the actual size, like what percentage of the screen it takes up.
Yep.
And also when the user is using it. So if it comes up at the beginning or while the person is in, the process of viewing the site, that's not good.
Yeah, I think, and it makes sense, right? Yeah. The idea is that if I want to go to this site to find out X, Y, or Z, I want to be able to find out X, Y, or Z without having to go through 3 steps to get there. They just want that information readily available.
Yeah. So an exit pop-up would be another good idea if you have a pop-up. Of course, that doesn't apply to mobile, right?
Right.
So 80% of your users, for example, that's not going to be applicable to, because there is no exit pop-up on a mobile screen.
Yeah, there's no exit intent because you can't really. I mean, not that I'm aware of. There might be some company that, if people are scrolling up, has started to do that. I'm not familiar with them doing that on mobile, though. Usually they're tracking your mouse, and the moment mouse is out of the screen, they pop up that last sort of try and catch the people before they leave.
Okay, so I was thinking we could kind of brainstorm a couple of ideas. If the goal is to increase your email list, for me, I have to confess, the pop-up menu has been a great tool to do that. What are some other ways that that you all use that people can use to increase the people on signing up for their email list?
Well, I think that anytime you can incorporate it, excuse me, in your content is great. We see a lot of success on popular posts that we have. We might mention within the body of that post to say, click here and sign up for our mailing list to find out about X, Y, or Z, or it could be something that's timely. We might mention in that post that you get a free ebook if you click here right now. We're offering that. Now, yes, right now might be indefinitely, but the person who's coming from Google who just came to your one page, they're not going to know that.
Right.
And so that has been effective for us. That's one thing. Another thing that probably is what we're going to move to, and I'm sure people have seen some sites that do it, is just have the email sign up form as a part of the page that's just at the very top. So it almost looks like what one of those pop-ups will look like, but it's actually just in the content, and it's always at the top of every page.
Kind of like the hello bar looked like at the...
Yeah, kind of the hello bar, but it's not something that gets dismissed. It's just, think of it like... Yeah, it's like
constant, static.
It's constant. Yeah, it's just static. It's just, and as you scroll up, it scrolls away. It's just
at the
very top of the page. No, that would be something that there could be plugins that do that. But it's just some HTML that places it at the top of the page. I'm guessing with this Google change, there are going to be more and more options to do something like that, because that's going to be an easy way to solve it, is just, especially for everybody using WordPress. WordPress makes it pretty easy to hook in and insert content above every post, let's say. And so I think those are going to become pretty common very soon.
I like that. Those are two really good suggestions. The only one that I was using that it's different than that is I joined Lead Pages last year, and Lead Pages allows you to create lead boxes, which basically looks like a box in the inside of your text. And you can do things like create a PDF of the actual recipe itself and say, hey, download this recipe. You can, in other words, you can create a whole bunch of them and not just have just one, like some people will have a recipe book that you can get, and that's great. But if you'd like something that's very relatable to the content of this specific post and have a bunch of them, that's another way to do it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And that's also the other thing is right above the recipe on every post, we just have a singular, it's just our general sign up, which we don't see a huge percentage of people sign up through that, but we do see, we do get a few hundred subscribers from that. So we keep it there. But I like that idea too. I honestly, and that just not to get crazy off into that world, probably some of the most powerful email opt-ins you can have are more content specific. So for example, let's say you're looking at a brownie, and if I say, hey, sign up for our email list and I'll get you our dessert ebook, that has a much higher conversion rate than, let's say, if you're there and it's just, hey, greatest recipes, because it's not as contextually specific.
Yes.
So, I say that knowing it, and it's on my list to implement more.
2017.
But 2017, yeah.
Yes.
Just need to find out how to create some more time.
You got to have goals, right? You got to have things to look forward to.
Exactly, yeah.
Excellent. So is there anything else we should cover on that one? Or are we ready for the next question?
I think we're ready. I think that was
okay. Good.
That was really good.
I really like this next question because I think I asked it.
Did you?
That's my favorite.
Excellent question.
Excellent
Probably
question.
the best question we've had yet.
Yes, I think so too. It's very stellar. Okay, when you're shooting video, we've been doing video lately, but we do it all from that top-down perspective where we're looking down on the recipe and, my hands are busy moving around. But what I've noticed is a lot of these videos will have, in addition to that top-down look, they'll have these very close-ups of like what I call pour shots, where you're pouring the flour or you're pouring the vanilla or whatever into the bowl.
Yep.
My question is, do you use two cameras to do that, or do you make the recipe twice and then move the camera and shoot close up on that?
So there's a third option, which is actually what we used to do. And that was when we used to shoot it with one camera, we would, We would just move that. You can do it with one camera, and you just move the camera. You just need to plan ahead and know when you're going to do that shot.
Yes.
And essentially, your hands are going to come in and look like they're beginning to pour, let's say, but
Okay.
you don't pour. Or if you pour, just pour a very tiny amount
Okay.
and then stop. And then you can move the camera down to that angle shot, focus, get your frame ready, and then film the pour shot, and then stop, and then move the camera back up top. And then
That's very doable.
yeah, and then start recording and then pull out. Now, obviously, that's not the easiest thing to do, so you don't want to do that for every single ingredient. But just like you said, it works best for those food porny shots where just it looks good. It's like some honey pouring and just like
Yes.
cascading golden
Light in the
delight.
background. Yes.
Yeah. That's what works best anyway. And so, if you just do a few of those, that's plenty, and it can be doable with one camera.
It just adds some variety to the overall video, right?
It's adding visual interest, and it's changing things up, keeping people following your video. So that's what we used to do.
Okay.
And I think this actually this brings up, I think, a really good conversation, which is just you don't need to be Spielberg on the first video you do. And not to say that we're Spielberg or whatever, but I'm just saying that you don't need to worry about, okay, I've got to have an angle shot for these and I got to do this. The first, I talk about this in our video workshops, is that the first 6 months of videos that we did were all just like you do. It's just overhead. The only
Yeah.
angle shot was the very end shot. And as we got really comfortable with that, right, just like in blogging, as we got more experience, it was like, oh, okay, let's add a layer of complexity because now we're really comfortable. And then we started to do a second angle, which for a brief time was moving the camera, and then we actually involved a second camera. And then that just made it a little easier. And then we just continue to evolve and grow. But it's important, I think, to not try and be at the
Yes.
finish line before you've gone through the race that everybody else has. Don't just see somebody who's doing all that and think, oh, well, that's what I have to do. If you can, great. But also don't feel like it's not okay to just get yourself into that place and just move slowly and learn and get there. Does that make sense?
I like it. It makes total sense because it's easy to have these expectations. Sean and I play tennis, and so they talk a lot about managing your expectations. Like if I spend all my time watching Serena, I
Yeah.
want to get out there. I feel like I can play like her, but then I get
Right.
out there, I'm like, oh, this is really hard.
Right, yeah, exactly. And no one would expect that. No one
Yes.
would, and if you said to your friend, they'd be like, oh, no, of course not. But for some reason, as bloggers, people start to get that in their
Yes.
mind.
Like I have to shoot video, like show me the yummy, or why even bother?
Yeah, well, right. Or just I need to be where people who've been doing this for 2 years are on my first
Yes.
video. And then it can become frustrating and
Yeah.
demoralizing when it doesn't look like that. And then the worst thing that can happens, which people just give up. They're like, I can't do it.
Yes.
And so that's why it's just like first blog posts. Everybody has their first blog post with the
Yes.
crappy images that you don't want to talk about, and you think about deleting that post later on,
Yes.
or you go back and redo them because look at how far you've come, but it takes time. There aren't shortcuts. That's, I think, the big takeaway.
It's a little bit like what Kara and I talked about in Fry Chats last week, which is I've been looking at the word patience lately because it's something I want to cultivate in my life. And they were saying the opposite of patience is somebody who just like gets down on themselves because they expect immediate results. And so it's just give yourself a break, give yourself reasonable goals and work towards it slowly and have patience with yourself.
Absolutely. The goal should just be shoot a video. It should not be shoot an awesome video because 99.5% of the time, that's not going to happen. You're not that person. If you don't have a background in video and film and editing, that's not going to happen. So
Yes.
don't have that be the expectation for your first video. Have it be to actually get it uploaded. And if that happens, you are doing an awesome job. And then try and fix the things that you realize in the first one and do that again and again and again until you're creating some great videos.
I have an idea. If you are out there and you just launched your first video, send the link to me and I'll give you a big round of applause and we'll
I love it. I love it.
we want
You
to
should
see
have
them.
said that. You're going to get 8,000 emails.
Bring 'em
All
on.
of
I
your
wanna hear 'em.
time- All of your time is going to be spent watching food videos. I love it.
Yeah. Then I'll be hungry.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's talk a little bit about the two camera angle
Yeah.
situation.
Mhm.
What is the quality of that second camera? So I imagine you've got one on a tripod, it's pointing down on the food, and then another on a tripod, and it's more like, straight on angle.
Yeah, so we've got our camera. We shoot with a Nikon D800, so it's a nice digital SLR for our top angle. And then for our side angle, we have this is what we bought, Marley. Ready?
Okay.
It's a refurbished $300 Nikon camera body. All I wanted was something that shot 1080p HD video. That was my only requirement when we got that. And so for $300, we had lenses. We had some extra lenses.
Yeah.
And so it was a $300 investment to get that angle shot for us.
That's
And
nice.
that's it. Yeah, because you don't need another $2,000, $2,500 camera for
Right.
the shots that are going to last a total duration of 2 seconds in your video,
Right.
and B, a much cheaper camera can shoot high quality video. We don't need a gigantic image like a lot of these higher resolution cameras do. And if you watch any of our videos and you think the angle shots look nice, well, that's a $300 camera. So
Wow.
you don't need to spend a ton of money.
Yeah, I'm just curious, where would you get a body? In other words, you're saying a body without the lens. You get that on just online?
You can get that anywhere. Usually when you're buying a lens also, they call it a kit.
Yeah.
And they're just doing that, honestly,
Yes.
to also sell a lens
And
with the
nobody
body.
likes those lens. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much anywhere you can buy a camera, you can buy just a body only. I mean, we got ours on Amazon because that's where we just
Nice.
buy everything. But B&H Photo, we also get stuff from there.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, any place that sells camera gear, you can buy a body alone if you have an extra lens.
What about if somebody thinks they want to use their iPhone? Would that work for the close-up?
So, I'm a big proponent of the equipment doesn't make the videos or the photos. It's the photographer, or I guess videographer in that case.
Yes.
So absolutely, you can shoot some great stuff using an iPhone. There are some technical limitations that you're going to run into with using an iPhone, and that's going to be, things like depth of field. Everything's going to be in focus. It's a wider angle lens, so you're going to have to get in there really close.
tight.
But to answer your question, yes, you can do it. It's just, it might be more difficult. What I always say is money and nice equipment, it doesn't buy you quality, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not getting like super technical. Like, yes, some more expensive things have higher quality sensors and things like that. I'm just talking about like in terms of actually production value, let's say. All it buys you is convenience and speed. So it can make things faster to do and it can make them easier to do, but it's not just going to magically make your videos wonderful or your photos wonderful. There are a lot of people with really expensive cameras that don't necessarily take very good photos. It's not the
Right.
camera, it's the photographer. And so I'm a huge proponent of take whatever you have. Don't feel like you need to buy a ton of equipment. Work with it, start with that, and start learning.
I love that. Okay, and then the other model that we were talking about 3 models, and the other one is if you have one camera and you're going to make the recipe twice. So the first time you would just make it straight through and shoot the top down. The second one you would do some pour shots, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. And what we learned from that is just to be very careful that you're using the exact same bowls and the exact same, pouring utensils, because it shows some inconsistencies that people will pick up on.
Some film flubs
Yes,
in there.
film flubs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for us, it's purely we don't want to have to make the recipe again because Jennifer's typically tested it once. She made it once to photograph it. Now we're making it once for the video, and we don't want to have to make it again for those angle shots. And so that's why I prefer the just starting to pour and then just cut away. Now you're committing though, right? You're committing that you're going to use that angle shot. So you can't change your mind. But once you've done it a little bit, you can really kind of start to say, okay, I know what we're doing. And the nice thing about the different angle is that you'll find as you start shooting video is it can be very forgiving. Your hand doesn't have to be in the exact same place because it's a totally different angle and people aren't going to be able to associate that. The pouring doesn't have to be at the exact same point. Like there's a lot of your mind puts these things together, right? It connects
Yes.
the dots. The dots don't need to perfectly line up. So there's some
Right.
flexibility there.
The mind, it's like a magician, right? Your mind just won't see those things and it just moves on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
putting the quarter in your hand and then, suddenly it's in your ear, which I have not figured that trick out yet, but one of these days,
One of these days.
somebody's going to tell me how that works.
This company I used to work with, they hired a really bad magician and you could, it was like, I don't know, some employee luncheon or something. And you could actually see, but I don't know, he was terrible.
You could see all the squished
Yes.
up ball in his hand. That
Yeah, so
disappeared.
now I just can't unsee it. It's like now every
can't
magician is
unsee
spoiled for
it.
me.
Don't tell me how the trick is done.
I
don't
won't.
wanna
I
know.
won't. It's all to myself.
Don't
Yeah.
ruin the magic.
I won't. But yeah, okay. So I love that. I think these are some really good video tips for people just to keep in mind that you can start out small and move your way up. And then, like you said, like the more you're doing video, that's probably when you want to go ahead and get that second camera because it'll save you some time and some headaches.
Yes. But do start small. Don't try and do everything at once.
I love it.
Too many moves. It's you're spinning like 18 plates. They're going to fall.
And you're going to get frustrated. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Trevor, you want to take us into our next question?
Okay, this is the burner at the end where it's going to get really heated here. So FTC disclosures. The question is, how moving into the future is it more important to make sure you're disclosing appropriately? And I know you have some thoughts on this, so I'm going to let you lead this one off.
Well, let me just say, Trevor, this topic drives me crazy because I feel like the expectations that are placed on bloggers, it's just so much more than I see in any other industry. So, for example, I just read this yesterday that they are just now requiring for homeopathic meds to actually show data to prove their claims. I mean, so homeopathic meds have been out there forever. There's a lot of data that shows that they are not effective, but yet they've been able to sell products by saying, oh, you won't get a cold if you take this, whatever. They get away with all of that stuff. And okay, so I'm going to keep going.
Okay.
I also feel like with politicians,
It's getting heated. I like it. Keep going.
I'm getting, yeah.
Going.
Politicians, they're funded left and right. They've got people buying meals, taking them on trips, and they don't have to put things on their lapels that say, this speech that I'm giving
This
was
bill was sponsored by.
sponsored by. Yes, exactly. Ad. They don't have to do hashtag ad when they tweet something, and that what they're tweeting about was something that's been sponsored by somebody who knows what. I feel the same thing is probably true of not probably. It's true of celebrities as well. Oprah's a great example. That when she goes into a restaurant and she's getting a free meal and she puts it on Instagram or something, she's not saying hashtag ad. This meal was provided for free. I just don't understand why there is this huge expectation on bloggers. Like a brand can't even send me a free product without me disclosing that.
Well, first of all, if any of Oprah's associates are listening, I did not have anything negative to say about Oprah in any way. I'm a fan of Oprah. This is like that trial in the meat industry right
Look at
now.
you
It's about
pandering.
to happen with you. Pandering. I think it's safe to say, and maybe she is, but Oprah may not be listening.
maybe,
But if
maybe
somebody
not.
knows her, tell her. No, so I totally get what you're saying, and I guess my stance on it is, well, let's talk about. Maybe we should go back because maybe some people don't know
Yeah, that's good.
exactly what this is all about, right?
Yeah.
So the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, says that you need to disclose to your readers or your social media followers, anywhere where you're potentially were paid in any way for a product that you might be talking about. So like Marley said, if she gets for some reason, soap just went into my head. But Marley gets some soap sent to her, and then she says, oh, this soap is great. Technically, she is supposed to say, by the way, soap company XYZ provided me with the soap.
Yeah.
So that people know that she got it for free. In essence, there's a value to that soap. So she was paid something to say, not necessarily to say it, but she wouldn't necessarily be saying it had they not sent her that paid item, right? Or if you're being
Possibly,
paid to do a sponsored post, all of these things. They're saying that you need to make sure that it's disclosed. And more importantly, is that they need to know before they've read your entire post. So it's not okay to say, talk about cookies, and I use, I'm going to have to use a brand. No, I won't. I'm going to use a chocolate chip company. I'm sure everyone just had the same one come in their head, but I'm going to use some chocolate
chips.
Charlie's chocolate chips. And I use Charlie's chocolate chips, and they're so good and wonderful. And then at the very bottom, after the recipe and all this stuff, I say, P.S. Charlie's chocolate chips paid me to say this. The FTC doesn't want that to happen because maybe Charlie's chocolate chips aren't good, and the only reason you're saying that is because you were paid. Not that people would do that, but some maybe would. And the concern is that the consumer should know as they're reading that article, as they hear you talking about Charlie's chocolate chips and saying all these things, that indeed you were compensated for it. So they should keep that in mind as they're reviewing those claims and the things that you're saying.
And you say it so well, it makes me think, why in the world would I have anything against that? I am a person of integrity. I think that sounds perfectly normal.
Marley, nobody said you didn't have integrity. So I'm trying to make it more heated.
Okay.
But keep going.
Quit trying to tell me. We just can't do this, can we? We just cannot get an argument going. We're
hanging out. I know we can't. We agree to. That's all right.
Episode 3. What?
Episode 3.
Some really good stuff with that one. Okay. But, I feel like I can see your point. I really do. I just feel like it's applied unfairly.
Right. That's your beef. It's not fair across the board. It's not the ask to disclose. It's that if I'm disclosing, why doesn't everybody have to disclose?
Yes. Why are we, picking on bloggers? Why can't we also pick on, everybody should have that same rule of integrity is what I think. Well,
I guess so. Just to give the other side of the coin, I would say that they're not really picking on bloggers because there's not that many. It's not like the FTC is as they even say in their policies, they're not actively looking at blogs to watch this stuff. I think, though, that what they're trying to say is, and I do agree with this, it's like if you were paid to do something and you're talking about that product, then talk about it. And for us, that's fine. I mean, for us, we have our photo of the recipe and then we say, this was sponsored by, whomever. Mm-hmm. And then we'll talk about that. They're like, but we love it, though. We use it. It's something that we use all the time. I mean, we relate it in our real world experience, but it's only a problem then once everyone starts doing it. And I think it's a suggestion to be like, hey, this could potentially become an issue at some point. You should really not be doing it, and hope that people do. I mean, personally, if it was me, if I was a big blogger and not disclosing, I'd be a lot more concerned than if you're listening and you're just starting your blog and you haven't been disclosing. Yeah, they're probably not going to come after you. They're coming after people that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But I would hope that those bloggers would be the ones that are leading the charge to say, hey, it's important that you do this. And I think some do, and I think some don't. And
I think that's a good point too. And as it becomes industry wide, then the readers are just going to expect that. They won't seem abnormal.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, we have gotten maybe one comment before where people have a problem with it. I mean, I always chalk all those up to, you obviously don't understand how, I mean, I don't remember getting your check for the recipe that you're
that you just got for free
in the mail that we spent potentially 6 hours of our lives creating.
Yes.
And, B, the last time I checked, you were also, watching TV, taking the bus, reading the newspaper, reading a magazine, all of these things that are subsidized or entirely paid for through advertising.
Yes.
I don't see you out protesting, or if they are, then, those comments I'll take. And duly noted. But it's just that's that's part of the game, right? I mean, people have to make money somehow, and I don't give those people much time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And so, really, I can complain about it all I want to you, Trevor, and everybody who's listening. But in reality, it's the rules, and it's the rules that we have to play by. So there comes a point where you just have to accept it and adopt it and move on.
And you know what? You can only do what's in your control, which is make sure you're doing the right thing.
Yes.
And no, they might not be, cracking down on it right now, but I guarantee you, as influencer marketing is becoming more and more and more ubiquitous throughout the industry, it's going to be something that's going to come and bite somebody in the butt one of these days. And you don't want to be on the wrong side of that. You want to be
That's right.
you want to be able to say, "Oh, yep, that's why I did it.
Yeah.
Here we go."
And here's one more thing that I will say as a counter to my own argument, and that is,
Wow, are you arguing with yourself right now?
I am.
Amazing.
Watch, just stand back and watch, Trevor. Because here's the thing. I want food blogging to be something I am proud to be a part of. I want this to be a profession. I don't want it just to be something people don't understand what that is, or they don't quite get it. I really would like to see food blogging become this very valid, very esteemed profession. And I think the one way to do that is to lead with integrity. So
that is somebody tweet that out, please. Marley from Namely Marley and the Chop Pocket. You're so right. I think you hit the nail on the head. That is the perfect description of what I think everyone should be doing, because everyone reflects on us as a whole, as an industry.
right.
And you gotta do what is, you gotta act with integrity and make sure that also all your readers, because at the end of the day, it's not about screwing bloggers. It's about making sure your audience is informed. And when you're saying X, Y, or Z about X, Y, or Z product, they need to know whether or not you were compensated, paid for, you got the product for free, whatever it is. That should be the first thing you're mentioning. And then you can say whatever you want about it. There's no reason to not disclose that, though. So I totally agree.
And you can be very creative in the way that you disclose it. I mean, you can refer to it as a partnership. You can refer to it in ways that, talks about how this brand is helping to support your blog, and it's you only work with brands that you are truly passionate about. There are some things that you can say to help your readers understand it better.
Absolutely. And I mean, we always try and relate it as well when we're disclosing, to be like, oh, we worked with our friends here, they're sponsoring this post. So it's not just a cold, we don't know these people. I mean, it's, as you have these relationships with sponsors and PR agencies, you really do start to, work with the brand and know the brand, and, maybe meet the people who are a part of the brand and go out, and have dinner with those people at some point. So, I mean, it's not just, you can be approachable with and relatable with how you have a relationship with these people.
I love it. Okay, that's good. I think we covered some really good questions today. What do you think, Trevor?
I mean, I always hate this, but I got to say, episode number 2, I really feel like Blog Talk number 2 took it up a notch.
I think it did.
So
sure.
there's some pretty big expectations for next month.
It's only going to get better and better.
I know, right?
Yeah.
When we're going to start doing 2 angles in these somehow, I don't know how we're going to make that work, but it'll happen.
It'll happen, yeah.
It's just like video.
We're going to touch on that topic that we just don't agree on, right? We're going to find it.
We're going to find it. It's got to be out there. That's going to be like the Rachel and Ross, never ending up together, is going to be you and I never actually be able to find something that we disagree on, but everybody keeps coming back.
Because they're kind of like, okay, this is going to be the one, right?
Yeah, just in case. What happens when Marley and Trevor just start screaming at each other during Blog Talk? And that's what's going to keep them coming back. And I'm okay with that.
Maybe we should do it like Sean listens to this podcast where they say it's like a truth or fiction. And so we could argue with each other and they could decide whether we really disagree or not. And then...
Oh, I like that. I like name calling.
Yes.
You could try and get really mean, so they're like, this must be real, because they would never say that. But
I love it. We got so many angles. Okay, so anything else you want to share from Blog Talk number 2?
I don't think so. I just, Thanksgiving is coming up, so big time for a lot of bloggers, and enjoy Thanksgiving. Try and not just be stuck on your phone answering last minute comments, and enjoy. Give thanks for what you're doing and for everything else.
Well, I am thankful for you, Trevor.
Oh, Marley, don't make me cry. I said no crying on Blog Talk. That was one of our 3 rules.
That's like, no, there's no crying in baseball. Right?
There's no crying. I am also thankful for you, Marley.
Oh, good.
I'm giving you a virtual hug right now.
Oh, yes, for sure. And we're thankful for all of you. And, if you have questions you'd like to hear us tackle on the next Blog Talk episode, which will be right around Christmas time, it'll be coming. So you got a couple of options. You can send your questions to me directly at marley@choppedcon.com or at Twitter @choppedcon. What about you, Trevor?
You can find me at Trevor at Show Me the Yummy or Trevor at The Blog Village. Both those are .coms. Any of that works. Facebook pages, just find me. We'll talk.
Yeah. I love it. And I'll leave the links on the show notes page for everybody too. So
love it.
Make sure you don't miss out on a future episode. Go to iTunes or Stitcher and subscribe today. We would love to have you leave a comment. That's even better. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Trevor. I had a great time.
You're so welcome. Thank you.